That's the beautiful spirit of CBT. I feel like it applies to everyone at some point. Like there's something that you can apply.
Could you, now I'm based in CBT.
Yes.
And this utilizes a lot of very doable CBT exercises, but you apply it to self-sabotage. Can you explain a little bit about what CBT is and you know how you wove that in?
Yeah, absolutely. So cognitive behavioral therapy is based on this model where thoughts and behaviors are what drives your feelings, and oftentimes our feelings disturb us and we try to change our emotions directly. And it's hard to do that. But because of what we know in terms of the cycle of thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, that they're all connected and interrelated, if you change thoughts and or behaviors, you can change the way that you feel. And so that's really the basic model of CBT, but there's a lot of different applications. You know, when you have certain thoughts that are self-defeating, then CBT teaches you how to change those thoughts or how to change your relationship with those thoughts. So this is one part that I really enjoy, is that in recent advances of CBT, we have ACT, right? Acceptance and commitment therapy.
Yes.
You know, sometimes you have a negative thought and you know that you can have a positive thought, but it doesn't feel true, like it doesn't ring.
No.
And that's what I love about ACT, because it's like, okay, fine, you can't change the thought, but let's change our relationship with it. Why does it have to affect you? Why does that have to drive what you do today? So I love that. So like that piece is definitely woven in there. Behaviorally, you know, human beings, we have such a kind of a patterned life. Like we like patterns, we like familiarity. And so sometimes if you do certain behaviors that are self-defeating, your brain then interprets that as, oh, I guess I'm not a good person. I guess I should feel guilty. I guess I'm not good enough. And then it becomes another self-perpetuating cycle. And so where CBT is woven in here is, let's change our behaviors. Let's change our ABCs. So I kind of talk about like the trigger, the behavior, and the consequence, and why we get stuck in a cycle, right? But if you change the behavior, then you change the cycle. You'll have a different outcome, and then the next time you have the same trigger that used to get you into trouble, you do this new replacement behavior, and it'll set you on a different path. The way I think about it, this is not an analogy I use in the book, but I just thought about it because I love sci-fi and time travel, but I feel like it's like an alternate timeline, you know, like if you think about like Back to the Future, where, you know, like that movie where, you know, one event can like cascade into a whole different life and a whole different outcome. That's kind of how I feel about CBT in some ways. Like one thing can just set off a whole motion of positive outcomes.
I use the word kindling effect, but I like your sci-fi. I like your sci-fi analogy a little bit better.
I don't know. I like your kindling effect. We can change for a little bit. We can trade.
Now, when you say trigger, could you give an example of some triggers?
Absolutely. So triggers can be in the form of thoughts, they can be in the form of events, or they can even be in the form of feelings. And so certain thoughts that could be triggers are all or nothing thinking. So again, you know, you eat the half a donut and all of a sudden your entire diet's out of control and you're just gonna fall off the wagon. But also there's a lot of other thought triggers too, like shoulds. You know, a lot of messages of what I should be doing. I should be better by now. I should have gotten this into control. I should be married by now. I should be in a better job. And that brings on a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, and that makes it harder to move forward. But another very common type of thought trigger is what I call personalization. And this is not a new term. It's part of the CBT tenet where you just compare yourself with everybody around. And then you don't feel good about yourself, you know, because you somehow don't measure up. And that also can drive self-sabotage because you might not believe you have the skills to move forward. So thoughts are a big category, and I go into a lot of detail in the book. But events too, you know, sometimes certain events will just trigger people.
You know, something external.
Something external, yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought that up because we have internal sort of triggers and we have these external triggers where, you know, you could just be walking by your favorite coffee shop and you know that there's this great muffin in there and all of a sudden you get it, but you're not even hungry. It's just the fact that you walked past it, right?
Yeah.
So that's external. Other things that might be external, let's say, you know, your boss is in a bad mood and he yells at you. That's not your fault, but because that happened, it sets off a certain other events for you. You know, well,
Right.
what does this mean? Why did he yell at me? Well, I guess, forget it. I'm not doing a good job at work anyway. I might as well not do this project. And then you create a whole other cycle where your boss gets mad at you for a legitimate reason this time because you didn't finish your project, right? And so I think it can be a variety of different things, but triggers are things that kind of set off a chain reaction. And I think when people start to pay attention, they realize there's certain patterns and themes. It's not just, whoa, whatever happens and I'm just reactionary. No,
Right.
there is a pattern, and once you establish it, again, you feel much more in control.
Thanks for watching the show. If you liked what you just saw, please subscribe to the channel so I can bring you more mental health and emotional well-being content. This channel is for you, so I would love to hear your comments. Did you relate to anything you saw? Or what kind of issues would you like me to address with the professionals I interview? Check out the next video, and thanks for watching.